Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse podcast. This is your host, Tim Kanak. You can find me on X at Fantasy Aceball. And if you're watching on YouTube or XVision or whatever other source you can watch on, I'm always recommending to watch. And we're fine. I'm seeing it now. The YouTube video from last time, it's like the first time ever that the video version actually had more views or listens or whatever on the Reds podcast than the Spotify and the Anchor or whatever, like the Apple Pods. So it's the first time we actually got more views than listens, which I'm pretty excited about because I keep recommending. I'm like, look, you can hear me talk about F scores and you can hear the tools and stuff like that if you're just listening to the podcast. But if you're actually watching, you can see what we're looking at. Like John has been really good about playing videos of like pitchers and stuff like that, especially while we're talking about pitching prospects. And then on the F scores, like I'm going through the sliders and you're able to follow along and look at a lot of the statistics that we're talking about instead of just listening. So I do recommend watching if you can, especially if you're driving, because that's a great thing to do. Not just joking, but especially if you're working out, you can put on your phone. It's cool. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but at least you can if you like hear something interesting, you can always pause it and be like, oh, I want to see that. And you can pause and watch then. So I recommend. It's not like I care. Like I'm not getting like we don't do ads, so it's like I don't get paid from YouTube or anything either way. It doesn't really. I don't really care. I'm just saying from a consumer standpoint, it's a lot better to watch than to listen. And if you're watching, I've been rambling for 2 minutes as Jake is nodding along. We got a ringer in here. We've got Jake Holland on the podcast. You are the first ever guest, Jake, on the Prospect Warehouse podcast. So ever since we transitioned from just being Fantasy Aceball podcast to teaming up with John and MLB Data Warehouse, you're actually the first non-John and not Doc guest on this platform. Are you honored?
It's a lot of pressure. It's more pressure than honor. It's both. I'll admit, but it's a lot of pressure now that you tell me that.
Yeah.
I've already been nervous coming into this. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, exactly. Well, you're good. You're good. You're talking your system. So you got Jake Holland on. You can follow Jake on X at JakeBaseball17. Give him a follow, please. Subscribe also to his podcast, The Cutoff Man Pod. I highly recommend it. Jake has been podcasting with me time to time for a while now. We've been doing this for, I don't know, probably over a year, maybe a year and a half or something like that. You've been jumping on with me. When I need a fill-in, Jake's like my first guy I message because Raymond a long time ago told me prospect stuff do not involve me. So I'm like, okay, Jake knows prospects, so I'll bring Jake in with the prospect stuff whenever I need a fill-in when Doc and John can't make it. So happy to have you, Jake, and welcome for your first time on the Prospect Warehouse pod.
No, glad to be back. It's been months, I think, since I've been on last. So talk about a fill-in. I mean, you went deep into the bullpen, it feels like. It's been a while. So I am ready to talk about some Astros prospects. Big Astros fan. Live here in Sugar Land. Wearing my Space Cowboys hat to kind of represent some of the AAA guys. Go to a lot of the games for the AAA Space Cowboys. So noticed some guys on here that I've seen play live and kind of excited to talk about some of them.
Yeah, I only get to see them in spring because they make their spring training home in West Palm Beach, which that stadium is like 20 or 25 minutes from my house. So pretty easy to get to that stadium. So I get to check them out in the spring, but they're not part of the Florida State League. So I don't get to see them when I'm like actually catching a ball. So I don't really see them then, but I do see them in spring. So we're going to jump right into this system here. And number 20, Jose Fleury, a pitcher. Dude, this guy sounds like a hockey player for the Montreal Canadiens or something like that. Jose Fleury or Calgary Flames. Wasn't that? What was the Fleury? Theo Fleury? Was it? What was his name? I don't know. I haven't watched hockey in forever.
I'm not a hockey guy at all. I could not tell you.
So Jose Fleury, I'm going to share screen here, and we're going to bring up his F scores. Boom. There we go. And I was going to talk about this as the screen keeps loading. I was going to talk about this to open the pod. The Astros system, we were actually talking about it pre-recording here, is not the strongest system, right? Like, and you're an Astros fan, so you can attest. I would rank it bottom 5. It's not quite like Padres bad,
Bottom three.
And yeah, bottom three maybe. Yeah, I've got one guy in the top 150 in this system. There are some depth pieces I like. Some of them are kind of far away, so it's not like it's a dead system here. As we're waiting for the page to load here, but Jose Fleury, I'm going to bring up his stats right here. Our number 20 pitcher. As scores don't really like him too much. 95 stuff, 102 control, 98 FERA. So yeah, we're off to a good start. But what he does have on his side is proximity, because Jake, he did pitch 45 innings at AAA, 9 starts, 4 relief appearances. So on the season, in 23 appearances, 19 were starts, and he had a 12.3 K minus walk. So very below average here, but like, and he throws only 90 miles an hour. So it's not like there's like killer stuff or anything either. But you can see he does have a good changeup, a 19.6% swinging strike rate on his changeup. So he does have a good changeup. Slider is okay with a 15% swinging strike rate. So that's an okay slider with a good changeup. Maybe he's like a bullpen arm, Jose Fleury. And in this system, if you have maybe a major leaguer, it's like, okay, top 20, I guess, right?
The thing I think you have to look at with a lot of these Astros prospects that we'll talk about is no one's going to impress you, really. No one's going to jump off the page. 2, it's look at the guys that pitched for the Astros last year. You had Brandon Walter, you had Jason Alexander, you had Spencer Arrighetti 2 years ago that kind of came out of nowhere. It's these guys that don't have super overpowering stuff, mid to low 90s, fastballs, some good off speed. And if Fleury has good changeup, Arrighetti has good curveball, these guys, and then they find a way to somehow make it work, the Astros organization, because they need arms. I mean, if you look at their major league roster, Javier's their 2, McCullers is their 3. It's a bad rotation, and there's going to be injuries. So it's guys like Fleury who are going to come up, and they're going to try to see what they have out of him. I mean, they did that, like I said, with Walter, Alexander last year, and they got some good ride out of him. So I don't think Fleury's anything special. I think he's one of these guys, and even like below them for the most part. He can come up as a spot starter, maybe a bulking reliever. That's really the majority of what I see out of him, and probably what you're going to hear from most guys too, pitching wise.
Yeah, the Astros org, they like their types of guys. A lot of their pitchers are command first guys.
Yep.
And then a lot of their hitters, or like all their hitters, are like tooled up power speed guys with like no hit tool and no plate skills. So
you'll see some later on. Yep.
Yeah, it's like opposite Guardians. The Guardians are always drafting these like 60 and 70 great hit tools with no power and speed. And then the Astros are just the complete opposite. Like if you could just like mesh all the Guardians prospects with all the Astros prospects and combine that into one guy, then you'd have a bunch of Connor Griffins. But can't do that.
Yeah, you'd have superstars.
Yeah. So number 19 is a catcher. And I guess he plays a little bit of first base too. And his name is Will Busch. So I'm going to throw him up here on the chart. But Will Busch, again, just like I mentioned, has power, has speed, but plate skills are not his forte. And Will Busch, again, there's a little bit of proximity on the side here. He's in AA. As a 21-year-old for catcher, that's not too bad. And you can see the F scores. 97 hit is below average. That's like a 40 grade hit tool probably. But a 111 power is not bad. And a 95 speed for a catcher is actually fairly decent. You can see here, Jake, that he had a 91% stolen base success rate with 10 steals for a catcher. That's not too shabby. Like you might get 10 steals from him in the future then. But almost 30% K rates, so that's not good. The dude can't take a walk. So 15% walk rate, but like a 30% K rate. So I don't know. Do we have like a Max Muncy-ish profile at catcher here? Maybe, I guess, with Will Busch. And there is some proximity. So I think this is an interesting guy. 6'4", 235 pounds too. So big body. And he's not like, he's not just 24. Like he does have age on his side too. So I think there's a little bit of interesting stuff here with Busch. Like I'm not really like super like, hey, go after catchers. And like, yeah, he has like a 220 batting average at basically every level. So the batting average is bad. But if there's some power and speed here from catcher, that's, maybe something for fantasy is like a catcher 2 or something in the future. So what do you think about Will Busch?
I think there's another guy that we're going to talk about that's higher on him. with proximity, but as far as like a stash for catcher, I mean, I think you're looking years out for Will Bush, but yeah, you're going to look at a lot of these guys, big frame, 6'4", love that, but he's got to hit the ball. He reminds me, you said he can't take a walk. That reminds me of the current catcher that the Astros have, Yainer Diaz. I mean, it seems like you said they have all the same, prototype of players. I like the Max Muncy comp. He'll have a couple steals on his side. You love that for the fantasy standpoint. And I could see them transitioning him to a first baseman. If you look at the list for the Astros prospects, I think he's the only one that is a first baseman on this list. And currently they're jammed at the infield right now. Paredes could place him first. Christian Walker's signed until 27. But if that's when Will Bush gets up and they want to make him a first baseman and they have the other guy behind the plate to pair up with Diaz, I could see that being a future possibility for Will Bush. I could see him more as a first baseman than behind the plate.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to highlight here while I have this page up, I brought this up on the last podcast, but we currently have a new thing on our charts here. If you look where I'm circling on our YouTube, we have an age-adjusted WRC plus. So this is a new thing that John and I developed that I've been trying to get him to do forever. But Will Bush had a 100 WRC plus at AA this year. And this is age adjusted because the average age at AA is roughly like 23 and a half. And since he's like 21 and a half, he's getting a bump of a couple of years for being under the average age to level. So we have this tool here to show you when guys are kind of playing at a level that is above the age, like for instance, like a Sebastian Walcott. This should help you make adjustments on, hey, this guy is really not as bad as he looks, or maybe he's much better than the stats show because he's super young for the level. So that's what that age-adjusted WRC plus is developed for, to kind of show you, hey, this guy is actually, we got some 90s, we got some 100s, so it's like, okay, he looks maybe kind of average, but when you look at that age-adjusted WRC plus, maybe there's a little bit more in the tank because he's playing at a harder level for his age. So just something to keep in mind that we have here developed. Number 18 on the list is Adrian Ardines. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ardines, maybe. Don't know.
This is one of the guys I don't know as much about. I was actually trying to find him in the system. I'm trying to find. He's actually not on a lot of the fan graphs, top 20s or anything like that. So I had to do some research on Ardines.
Yeah, so he was only in the DSL. And he's a repeat DSL guy, so that's why you can see I'm trying to type him in here. We have no stats for him because he was a DSL guy. So Ardines, however you say it, his 2024 first DSL stint, terrible. He had a 0.9% K- walk rate and an 18% walk rate as a 17-year-old in the DSL. But this last year, as an 18-year-old in the DSL, as a starter and a reliever, he had a 30.1 K- walk rate, and he dropped his walk rate from 18% to 4.3%. So the dude figured out how to throw his stuff for strikes, and a 30.1 K- walk rate. It doesn't matter like where you're at in the org, that's going to stand out. I don't really care about minor league ERAs, but he had a 191 ERA, which is actually really good for the DSL because remember the DSL, like Dominican is high up. Like you think it's in the Caribbean, but like there are a lot of mountains in the Dominican Republic if you've ever been there.
I was actually there last week on my honeymoon, so I just got back from that last week.
So you can attest it's high. It's not at sea level like Florida. Like it's actually high up. So I mean, depending on like what city you're in or whatever. But yeah, he performed pretty well. So I think he is an interesting name to watch moving forward as a 18-year-old, just turned 19. Probably going to hit pro ball next year. I don't know if he'll be complex or if he'll be in low A, but I think that his year last year just shows that, hey, this might be an interesting guy to watch, over a 20% swinging strike rate too in the DSL. So some fun stuff for a name where in this system, there's not a lot of pitching to look forward to.
I agree. That's pretty much all I would have on him too.
All righty. So we're going to move then to a guy who's been around for a little bit. This is Luis Baez, outfielder. I remember that when I was doing Prospect One with the Welsh was super high on this guy, and I was just like completely out. I was like, his hit tool is atrocious. Like, I could not stand Luis Baez because I was like, he's never gonna hit. Like, I was just like, he's just never gonna make it. And so I brought up his F scores here, and me saying his hit tool is atrocious. His hit tool is actually like a rated out as a 102 because he does get to decent angles, which is why it's a 102. Because you see here, his 70% contact rate is subpar, but he's getting to decent angles. So this 102 means he's got good line drive rates, but the 89 plate skills is atrocious. Almost a 27% K rate with only an 8% walk rate on the season. League average power 100. Only a couple bombs this year. It looks like he had some injuries that slowed him down. Only 200 something plate appearances, and he had 7 steals on the season. He actually is efficient on the base pass, but he doesn't run very much. Only 10% stolen base attempt rate is below league average. So for whatever reason, for a guy who you would think should be kind of fast, he like just doesn't run very often. He's not aggressive on the base paths. So Luis Baez, like I know a lot of people like him, and you can see the age adjusted WRC plus 148 is actually pretty strong, but I'm just not really buying it. I don't think that he's ever going to hit enough. Like he's not going to make enough contact, and there's too much swing and miss in the profile for any of these tools to ever really play up. Even though, like, yeah, the last year, Jake, he had a below 100 ISO, which is terrible. In 2024, he had a 204 ISO. So, like, maybe the injuries sapped the power some because 2024, he had 21 bombs. And, like, this year, he only had 2. But I don't think there's enough hit here for Luis Baez to ever, like, really play out. Where are you at on Baez?
No, if anything, I see the Astros using him as a trade piece. More than a piece that they actually think that can come up in their system. So I see him as a package piece. And just me looking more on the MLB side, they need guys for this next year. Injuries have plagued them. And so the people that do like Luis Baez, it seems to be a hot or cold situation with him. Either you like him, you think that he can have a future, or you're like, it's like you who, you're out on Luis Baez. Too much swing and miss in his game. It's just so he's a guy, and there's just nothing more I think to build on. I mean, he's still young. He's still 21 years old. So, I mean, there's still room for him to grow, but I don't see anything for him to grow in and be a major league ready player that we could use even in the next 2-3 years.
Yep. Next guy that we're going to talk about on the list is the one pitcher in the org with a ton of stuff, I would say, or like one of the guys with a ton of stuff. It is Miguel Ullola. The problem with Ullola is the exact opposite of these other guys. He has like no command at all. So I think that Ullola profiles more as a reliever long term.
Yeah.
And we'll see like if they, how aggressive they want to be with him. But I'm going to bring up his profile right here and see he's got a 102 stuff, 91 control, 106 FERA. For a total of 102 grade. The fastball is a really good pitch. It has, even though he only throws it 93, a 10.9 vertical movement, 10.9 inches without induced vertical break. So this is pre-gravity. When you add in the gravity, I've mentioned it before on the pod, but gravity, when you're adding the gravity from your regular vertical movement, is going to be somewhere between 6.8 to 8.2 inches of movement is kind of the range that you're looking at when you're adding the gravity in. It all depends. It varies. So that means that you're looking at roughly like a 17 inches to 19 inches induced vertical break, which more people are familiar with, which is well above average. Like the average induced vertical break is like 15 point something inches. So his fastball has a ton of ride, as we would like to say, on it. And you can see 12.7% swing strike rate on a fastball is pretty solid. Changeup is a 19.1 swing strike rate, so he's got a good changeup too. The breakers are subpar. Like an 11% on a slider is a bad swing strike rate. A 10 on a curve is pretty bad. So his breakers are not good, but he does have a good fastball change. So to me, 6'1", 205, bad command, 2 pitches. Like this guy just screams reliever to me. Where are you at on Ullola, Miguel Ullola, who isn't AAA, so there is some proximity.
He is. Yeah, I think he comes up next year with the league. At some point, I wish it was as a starter, but the concerns that you're talking about are completely true. He has no command. Actually, he won Pacific Coast League pitcher back-to-back weeks in May. He was the first Space Cowboys pitcher to do that. So he has some notability within the organization. People like him, at least with the Space Cowboys in AAA. But he was pitcher of the month in the PCL, which I don't think means as much as some other leagues. But I could definitely see him being a guy that he's going to be more of a long relief pitcher, maybe a couple innings. He kind of reminds me of Spencer and Getty in terms of just the kind of the low to mid fastball that has some good riding, get some swings and miss on it. As long as he can, I've heard some rumors around the organization. They want to try to tick up his fastball a couple miles an hour. If he can sit, closer to the mid 90s, maybe top at 96, then he would be more ready for a bullpen position next year. So I think that's something he'll probably be working on this offseason. If he can get that fastball to tick up 1 or 2 miles an hour and kind of sit around that 96 mark, I think he'd be really good for the bullpen. And I think it just deepens this bullpen that actually is a pretty decent one for the organization, I think. So I see Alola with the club next year.
Yeah, I like that. And if he's relieving instead of starting right there, that's going to add some ticks because he doesn't have to save all those pitches, right? Like if he's only expected to get a few outs or whatever, that's pretty solid. So the next guy on our list we're going to talk about is kind of exact opposite, like terrible fastball, but like really interesting breakers. It's Cole Hertzler. He only pitched in 4 games for whatever reason. So we're looking at a small sample size here. I don't know if he was hurt this season or like what happened to him, because obviously like minor league news is terrible, but he made 3 starts in April and then didn't start again until September. So it's like whatever injury he had, he came back from, and by the end of the season. So I guess he's probably going to go into next year healthy. But at A-ball, as a 22-year-old, he was a 5th rounder in 2024 for the Astros. He had a 25% K- walk rate and a 16% swing strike rate. So he had great stuff from what we saw from him. I'm going to throw up some of his stuff here. It looks like he made some relief appearances too. So at that, like down the stretch here, coming back from injury. So I don't know really like what we should expect from him for next year, but here he is, some of his stuff. But like Fangraphs only gave him like a 30 grade on his fastball. And generally when that happens, it means that there's just like no velocity here. But if you look at the swing strike stuff, you're okay. A bad camera angle here from the start, you can see, but this was his last year, a start he made last year, kind of downhill guy, big dude. So what do you know about Cole Hertzler?
I mean, he's got a big frame. He's a 6'4" guy. If you're seeing the video, he's got more of an over the top delivery than more the 3/4. So he doesn't throw as hard. I mean, he's a 91 to 94 guy. He can touch a 97, but he kind of lives in that kind of lower to mid 90s fastball with the over the top angle. And so it's not like as extreme as a Jonah Tong type of situation, but he hides it a little bit better. It's a little bit more the command, I believe. We're looking at that pitch. That's 450 dead center, leaving a hanging slider. But no, he's a guy. I think he's further away. He doesn't excite me as much. He's still with the single A team, so there's time for him to take up some, I think, velo, because with a 6'4" frame like that, there's a little bit more to work with. And he's only 22, so he can grow into it. They do some decent work with some pitchers down there. So if he can take up and sit around the 97 mark, I think he'll be a good future piece.
Yeah, F scores gave him a 103 stuff, a 107 control, and then a 94 FERA. So that makes it seem like he's a little bit homer prone, just based on that. So maybe he does leave some hangers up and around, but a 259 JA ERA, which is basically minor league Sierra. So, there's enough to like here, and it'll just be kind of interesting to see how he develops. I think that he is a starter because he already throws like 5 pitches. So like, unlike Ulola, like this guy actually has like a bunch of pitches. So I think that he'll actually be a starter rather than a reliever. So that's kind of exciting for a system that really has not a lot of starters. And then we're hearing about Framber getting $200 million offers from the Mets. So it's like they're going to need more than Hunter Brown and Arrighetti and, I guess like
The remains of
Lance
Lance
McCullers
McCullers. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get to the next players here. The next guy we have like actually no data on yet because he was a draftee, but I'm a big fan. I know a lot of people actually have him ranked higher than me, which I'm kind of surprised by. But Ryan Ferrucci. Yeah, Ferrucci. He was a 2024 third round pick. And he didn't play in 2025. So I'm assuming that he had to get Tommy John surgery because of that. But in 2024, he's from San Diego, from UC San Diego, he had a 32% K- walk rate. And it looks like he only had 5 starts in 2024 in college. So the Astros may have drafted Ferrucci, and they paid him $1 million. They might have drafted him in the 3rd round already, like knowing he had to get Tommy John. I'm not really sure the situation there if they drafted him getting TJ, but he should be, based on this timeline, ready to roll for next year. And it'll be interesting to see, like what level they start him at and everything like that coming back from injury.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see him as somewhat high level. I mean, he's 22, missed a season already. He's another guy that sits around 92, 95. He can touch 97. He's got it says a fading up 80s changeup, and his curveball's not too great either. So whenever he comes back, and it's interesting to see these guys when they come back, especially you get drafted, you don't play, and then you just get thrown into a system. And you're playing against these guys that are trying to prove something. There's probably going to be some, attrition to his start. He's not going to look as solid. So I'm more interested to see what he looks months into the season than right off the bat and see how he progresses there. But definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Can see him as a middle of the rotation in the future.
Yeah. I like what I see from him from his college stuff, and I did actually read that he had Tommy John in June of 2024. So they drafted him knowing that he was going to get Tommy John. Like basically, the Tommy John occurred prior to the draft. So that means that the Astros must really love this guy to spend a 3rd rounder on a guy that they knew was going to be hurt for a year and a half, and to pay him $1 million on top of it. So I think that says good things for the future of Ryan Ferrucci, right? Get the Italian.
Ferrucci.
Yeah.
What do you say about guys you like them post Tommy John anyway? I mean, get it out of your system, kind of get that surgery and then recover, because what is it? I mean, it's such a common procedure now. Guys come back stronger from it. So if they like what they see enough, they want to get that TJ out of the way, then it's, hit the ground running once he's back.
Yep, exactly. So the next guy that we're going to talk about is outfielder Zach Cole, who made the majors this year. And I remember you and I had a conversation because I think you added him in a league, and I was like, or you traded for him, and I was like, oh, he's going to be terrible. And because I'll tell you, he has maybe the worst plate discipline in the minor leagues. Like he makes Spencer Jones look like a saint. He makes Spencer Jones look like Stephen Kwan. I pulled up his F scores right here so we can take a look. Yeah, a 119 power, a 92 hit tool, 92 discipline, 110 speed. This is exactly like the Astros prototype in a nutshell. 110 durability, and a 101 adjusted WRC plus. So there's no age level bump here from a guy who's 25 years old. The speed, I don't necessarily buy here, Jake, because he had a 72% stolen base success rate, which is not good. Generally, teams want guys who are at least 75, if not 80, or they're going to cut their attempts down. So you can see he's pretty aggressive, 23% aggression. That's pretty aggressive because the average is 12, and he's at 23% attempt rate. But his actual success rate is pretty far down. The one thing Zach Cole does have is he has a ton of power on his side. You can see in 32 barrels at AAA, a 90.8 average EV, a 109.8 90th, which is like Samuel Basallo like that's insane, and a 113.5 max. So, like, basically, this guy is like a wannabe Joey Gallo, more or less,
Yeah.
with his 60% contact rates, his 38% K rates, and, just a ton of power and just a lot of aggression on the base paths that are, not efficient, but a ton of power here. Like, not going to lie, there's a lot of power here, but I just
Mhm.
don't think that this guy's ever going to make enough contact. And, like, I think Fangraphs has him currently starting in the
In the
outfield for the
center field,
Astros,
center
which to
field they have
me,
him. Yeah,
like, I like Melton a lot better. I like
same.
Sullivan a lot better. Like, I think that's just a placeholder. Like, maybe he starts for a couple months and then is like to Tyler O'Neely and just like strikes out a ton, and then they just
Yeah,
like peace out,
it's a
brother.
great
And
comp.
yeah, becomes a fifth outfielder or something. So that's where I'm at on Zach Cole.
I love Zach Cole. As a guy who attended a lot of the Space Cowboy games, and the reason I picked him up, I think, was it's in the Fantasy Ace Ball Invitational. Every game I would go to, Zach Cole would hit a home run or a triple or some huge game-winning double, whatever. Like, he always had a great game whenever I went. And I was like, man, who is this Zach Cole guy? So I started looking into him and just mashing triple A. So I picked him up for a buck or whatever, and I've just been holding on to him. But I agree, Joey Gallo's a great comp. I mean, a lot of power, uh, more aggressive, yeah, on the base path than I would have thought, at least from the games I went, because he was just hitting them over the wall, so I didn't get to see him run whenever I went to a game in person. But I think if he got everyday playing role, um, he can get you, I think 10 to 15 over a course of the season steals, which isn't a lot, but it's something. Um, but he has to not strike out 38% of the time or 35% of the time. I mean, just with the big league club last year, he only had 15 games and struck out almost 40%, but he got 3 steals in that time and hit 4 home runs. So it really is just a boomer bust profile. But I personally love the guy. I don't think he's going to start to open the season. I think he's one of those bench rolls, lefty off the bench type of guys that you'll see come in. I'm interested to see if they somehow transition him to like a first base. I know he hasn't played that in the past, but with him being a lefty, the Astros needing a lefty, and I wonder if there's just something there in the future. We've seen. I mean, you mentioned Joey Gallo. That's a first base outfield type of guy, and he really has a lot of similar comps to Joey Gallo.
Yeah, you can see I'm playing with the slider here if you're watching on YouTube or Xvision or whatever. In the second half, he had a 485 BABIP. Like what? Like almost a 500 BABIP in a whole half of the season. That is a tremendous, ridiculous amount of luck on his side. But I mean, like like I see what you're talking about. Like this has to be a fun player to go see when he's hitting
Oh, super
335,
fun.
427, 591 over a whole half of the season. Like, of course you're gonna love that. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
like this guy, the luck. It's like, man, if he was playing in cores, okay, maybe he can like maintain some of that. I guess he's gonna have. The thing is, he's a lefty. Like, I would actually like him better if he was
Yep.
a righty going to Houston because of the short
Right.
porch. But I don't know. This guy has way too much risk in the profile for me. Next on the list here at what are we at? Number 12 is Caden Powell, a third baseman who only played in low A as a 22-year-old, so he's not going to be very good in the adjusted age to level. You see only 100 here because he was old for the level. But he's interesting. He's got power. He's got speed, just like the other Astros guys. But again, hit tool and the plate skills here. Like this guy kind of reminds me of like Dylan Moore at third base. So it's like it's like as if you had Dylan Moore, who's strictly a third base. And the funny thing is, he's probably still a top 20 third base prospect for me, just because third base and first base suck for prospects. Like all the best prospects are outfielders or shortstops, and then they move off when they get to the majors. So it's like
Right.
if you look at shortstop, you're like number 30 shortstop is going to be better than like your number 10 or 8 or 5 like third baseman, just because they're all shortstops until they have to move off. Even JJ Weatherholt still playing shortstop for whatever reason, even though you got Mason Wynn like through
Yeah.
the whole minors. It's like, okay, whatever. But Caden Powell, you can see a 112 F score for power, 96 hit, 94 discipline, 131 speed. So kind of a fun guy. It adds up to 105 grade. Uh, 18% walk rate, not bad. 30% K rate is bad. So he does walk, like I said, like Dylan Moore, tons of walks, tons of Ks, tons of power and tons of speed, and then like bad hit. This is like 209 batting average, 84% stolen base rate. So he had 32 steals in 2025 from a third baseman. And even though he only had 3 bombs, like there is power in here. He had a bunch of extra base hits, and he's a big boy, 6'3", 200 pounds. So he's going to get into more power. Like you're going to see more bombs as he gets more plate appearances, because this is only over 165, because that's the second half here. Over the full season, 10 home runs. So maybe in 346 plate appearances. So he's profiling as like a 20 homer, 40 steal profile in the minors. So maybe in the majors, that's like 15 bombs with 25 steals with a bad batting average. So like I said, could be like Dylan Moore third. But that's kind of fun for fantasy, like especially deeper fantasy. So what do you think about Caden Powell?
That's if everything sticks.
Yeah.
I feel like the Astros have had a lot of quadruple A guys, guys that they look really flashy, really good in the minors, and then you're going to bring them up. It's a classic. Oh my goodness. I cannot think of his name. I'll come back to it. But the Astros have a lot of these quadruple A types. I mean, it's a fun profile, like you said. 30 plus steals last year. Big strikeouts. I don't think he's going to find that much power, like you said. But if they can transition him and make him an all right third baseman, I don't think you're going to see him and most of these guys for another 3-4 years, though.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that's what happens when you're an A-ball. But sometimes they'll move guys fast through like high A. You see a lot of college guys, they're just like, okay, we just want you to get your bearings for a year in pro ball. They're at A-ball, and then the next year, they're only at high A for like a month if they have success. And then then all of a sudden they're in double A. And once you're double A, really you're just like an injury away. Like you could, a lot of people nowadays are jumping straight from double A to the majors and just kind of skipping triple A.
Sure.
More pitchers than hitters, but like he might only still be a couple years away because he is 22, college guy. College guys can usually move a little bit faster. The next guy we're going to talk about at number 11 is kind of fun. He's a starting pitcher, Anderson Brito. So Anderson Brito at high A, it was at high A as a 20-year-old. So he actually was kind of bumped age to level. And this dude has a lot of good stuff, but he has bad command. So kind of like Ulola, but I think he's a little safer. I think that he still could be a starter. He made 12 appearances last year, and they were all starts. So I'm going to throw up his F scores real quick. And then actually after that, we can watch a little bit of video on him. So let's bring up Anderson Brito here on the F scores. And you see here a 110 F stuff, 97 control, 106 FERA. We don't have pitch level data from him since he was not in Florida State League and he was not in AAA yet, but a 307 JA ERA. And you can see here, he had one game here, 12 Ks, 1 walk earlier in the season. And he finished pretty strong. His last 4 starts, not bad. 6-4, 6-3, 7-2, 5-1. So he finished pretty good. Obviously, like the strike rates, this is something that we can look at here in a game log. And this is something that I used, Jake, when I was evaluating Jacob Misiorowski and kind of saying that, like, hey, Misiorowski's command is improving because you can look at the game log and see if the strike rate is trending upward. Like here, you can see this 12K 1 walk game, you had a 60% strike rate. Then the next game, 2 strikeouts, only 3 walks, and less than a 40%. So that's pretty terrible. Really good to terrible. So what you want to look for to see if command is improving is you want to see this strike rate number here trend up. If you see that trending up and you're getting 50% or above, that's pretty good because this is only the strikes and balls on John's leaderboards here are only from balls that are not in play. One interesting thing for Brito, I don't know, because again, like minor leagues, we never get injury reports. His last start was on June 21st. So I don't know what injury occurred that knocked him out for the rest of the season after that. I don't know if he ended up getting Tommy John or if it was like shoulder or blisters or what it was, but he did not pitch in July or onward. So something to keep in mind for Brito looking forward. What do you got on Anderson Brito, Jake?
Yeah, I was actually just looking up the injury while you're mentioning that because I've seen some clips of Brito, and you're probably pulling them up right now. But They said it was an undisclosed injury, and he's finally back on the mound. This was a month ago from Baseball America. Yeah, I follow all the Astros prospects news, and Brito would pop up on my feed every now and then. I was like, this guy's kind of interesting, and so um, like you said, if the control can get down, I could see him being a guy, here into the future, being a middle, maybe number two guy on the high end. If he really gets that control down, for rotation, some good strikeouts. I could see him being a good K guy in the future for sure.
Yeah, 5'10", 155 pounds is what he's listed at. I doubt he's 155. He looks more like 170 or something like that.
Yeah.
From the video, but definitely a smaller guy height wise, but big fastball slider combo here. Also throws a curve and a changeup, but the fastball, a lot of the times these shorter guys from a lower extension or from a lower release point get a lot of perceived ride is what I would like to call it on the fastball. So there's just like a decent amount of perceived ride on that. And you can see from the video here, like that fastball, like it looks like it's kind of stays up in the zone. And that seems to be his go-to pitch. So that's number 11. Let's get into the top 10 here. And number 10 is going to be another pitcher. We're going to look at Bryce Mayer. Let's actually see if we can pull up some video of him while I have this one up here. But Bryce Mayer, boom, here we go. Look at that. Strikes out 11 in 4 innings. Yeah. That's sick. What a start. Let's pull that one up. This is going to be dirty. So Bryce, besides the camera angle, it's like
you love minor league camera angles where they're playing in tornado games.
Yeah, we were looking at the Royals before, and there's like orange clouds in the background. It was like basically they sprayed like Agent Orange or napalm or whatever on the field.
Yeah.
For Kendry Chorio. But Bryce Mayer is a guy who's was a 16th rounder in 2024, and he really popped this year. This is one of these guys that like kind of comes out of nowhere because this year he had a 22.9 K- walk rate. And I'll jump back over to the F scores here, but a 22.9 K- walk rate on the season is really good for Bryce Mayer, and just one of these kind of pop-up guys from 16th round. So that's always kind of fun to look at those guys. What do you like about Mayer?
You talk about that strikeout. His K per 9 last year. This is combined with his Double-A and High A. It's at 11.5. That's not too bad. His ERA a little bit higher. But he gets some decent strikeouts. Try to look more into him. His swinging strike rate is a little bit down for what I'm seeing, at least in the zone. If he can get that up, but he's a 6'3", 210 guy. He's one of these guys that can maybe be a little bit more overpowering, bigger framed than Brito was. So I could see him moving up, and Bryce Mayer could be a guy that we could see at least maybe in AAA next year. So if he's up with the Space Cowboys, try to catch some games with him, and if not, he can maybe make that jump from double to triple or to the majors, but I don't see that happening next year specifically. So maybe we see him with the club in 2 years.
Yep. You see here his F scores really like him, but you just have to keep in mind the age to level. 109 stuff, 117 control, 105 FERA with a 254 JA ERA on the season. Again, we have no pitch level data because he hasn't hit AAA yet. But it should be noted, Jake, that his command got worse for each level he went up. He pitched an A ball, low A, as a 23-year-old last year, completely dominated low A. High A also dominated, but then double A kind of struggled a little bit. So after seeing guys like a bunch of college guys do this last year, like Quinn Matthews is an example, probably the number one example, really. Brandon Sprout did it the year before. And we also saw like KC Hunt is another one, Owen Wild. There were a bunch of these guys that really popped up who were like lower draft picks and then dominated the lower minors. And then when they got to like AA and AAA, they ran into some problems and lost command. So that may be something to look for Bryce Mayer, is that there may be like some Quinn Matthews syndrome because his His first pitch strike rate tanked significantly when he got to Double-A, which also made his walk rate drop through 7 appearances. So just something to look forward to is that hopefully he can kind of like stabilize that. And interesting, this guy, he went to University of Missouri, so I'm a fan. That's where I went to school. So
Nice.
yeah, there we go. Bryce Mayer, former Mizzou Tiger. So let's now get to number 9, AJ Blueball. So Blueball is another guy. I want to say he debuted this year, right? But he was in the pen
Yeah.
for the Astros.
He made a couple starts actually. I believe he came up and helped during some of the injuries. Yeah, he made 3 starts with the big club this year. He made 8 out of the pen for the majors this year. And pitched a lot in AAA as well too. So he was kind of back and forth throughout the season between the AAA club and the majors this past year.
This is what's interesting. I just pulled his F scores up. His minor league F scores hate him. 93 stuff, 96 control, 94 ERA. But he was a starter primarily through the minors. So that's going to be a big part of why. But his major league stuff was pretty good. Like his fastball actually ticked up over a mile an hour. And he had a 105 stuff plus on his fastball and a 105 stuff plus total pitching out of the pen in the major leagues. So I think if he's a reliever, he could be a really good reliever. But if he's a starter, he's just not going to be good, is kind of the read that I get on this, Jake.
Yes.
Looks like he's got a pretty solid sweeper, 17.7% swing strike rate on the sweeper. And that's over a 2-year period. So let's kind of like hone this to maybe like the last half of the season here and see how his arsenal updates. So solid sweeper, okay changeup. Fastball is only kind of okay. So I guess maybe like out of the pen, he probably focused just on those 3 pitches. But the sweeper is his predominant like swinging strike pitch. And this is weird. Look at this. 0 inches of vertical movement on the sweeper. It's just straight horizontal, like straight across. Like that's like that like literally is a sweeper. like 0 vertical movement, all horizontal. That's like the definition of what a sweeper should be.
Right.
So that's pretty fun. But I think like, yeah, as a reliever, there's a good hope for him. And like, look at these splits. This is, I guess, why he's not good as a starter, Jake. Look at this. At 337 JAERA, which is Sierra in the minors against righties, and then a 507 against lefties. So this guy just gets smashed by lefties. And he dominates righties. So, like, if you just pitched him only against righties as a reliever, that's probably why he had a lot more success in the majors than the minors. Just lefties, for whatever reason, they see the ball really well out of his hand and just smash him.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about Blue Ball. I've seen him pitch a couple times. He's how his stuff ranks out. It's he's just okay. I'm not even that hyped about him being in the bullpen, to be completely honest with you. Like, sure, if you put him against a heavy righty split that's coming up in the lineup, but if it's late in the game, they're going to sub in a lefty, and like I said, you said he can't pitch to lefties as well. I think he's just okay. If someone saw him as valuable and the Astros wanted to throw him in a trade, I'm all for the Astros getting rid of him to bring back something better, personally, because I don't see him being a starter long term.
Yeah, and that's one thing that the Astros lack in their system. I can't believe they might let Framber go. Like they need some pitching pretty bad.
Framber's not coming back. They're not signing Framber.
Yeah, not for that money, I'd say.
No.
I mean, they didn't even bring Tucker back. So we got here where are we? Number 9, number 8, number 8, Ethan Pecco. So Ethan Pecco, 23-year-old starter, former 6th rounder, got up to AAA this last year and had some really good numbers. The weird thing is I can find like no video. I'm like trying to find video on Pecco, and all I've got, I'm gonna throw up what I've got, I guess, in a second. But all I've got is from like 2 years ago. I don't really know why. Nobody recorded him this year when he was in AAA. But he had a 20.5 K- walk rate this year in AAA. And we will have Arsenal data on him here. You can see pulled up here. Over the last 2 seasons, a 2.83 JAERA, 106 stuff, 110 control, 105 FERA. So I think you do actually have a starter here. and he does throw 6 pitches, but it's primarily like 4 pitches here, like 4 pitches over 10% of the time. Fastball, despite not having a lot of ride on it, has a 12.5 swing strike rate, which is pretty good. He throws this bad boy in for strikes. Look at this this is excellent command of this fastball. 56.3% strike rate is phenomenal command. So he's just painting with that fastball, which is why he's getting so many good strikes on it. Slider, 17.4% swing strike rate. That's a good slider despite only throwing at 83. So it does not have great velocity on it, but he is getting swings and misses on it. So slider, not bad. Cutter is kind of subpar. The curve is kind of subpar at a 7% swing strike rate. Cutter is actually pretty decent at 14.3. So 89 mile per hour cutter. So good slider, cutter, fastball combo here. Curve is kind of lackluster. Changeup is okay at 11% swing strike rate, but he's good against lefties and righties. So unlike blue ball, there's like no platoon issues here. So I think to me, he definitely profiles as a starter rather than a reliever. So as an Astros fan, do you actually have some excitement in Ethan Pecco? Do you think he's going to be a starter for the team long term?
Long term, long term's a different question. I think we see him this year. I think there will be injuries just because you have McCullers on the team, you have Christian Javier on the team, so you will see injuries. And I think guys like Petco are going to be one of the first calls to replace them in the rotation. So I think we'll definitely see Petco. And I think it's one of those situations where, hey, show us what you got. And if you start dominating, we're going to keep you in the rotation. Because that's what the Astros need. I like the control. If he can get those last 2 pitches to kind of be a little bit better, his curveball and changeup are the ones that are a little bit more subpar. If he can get those and actually have a full 5-pitch arsenal, that's when I'm going to be a little bit more excited about him. So I think if he can really work on that, maybe early in the season, spring training, maybe with the AAA club, and can kind of get those 5 pitches down, I'll be somewhat excited and keep an eye on him.
Yeah, that cutter is actually a gyro slider. We just saw it in the video here. It's actually pretty nasty. And then the changeup is actually kind of nasty too. We saw some. There's the changeup again. We've seen some strikeouts on that thing. So he actually has a decent amount of movement. Even his fastball, his primary 4-seam has 4 inches of horizontal. So I don't know why they call it a 4-seamer. That's, to me, that's a 2-seamer really when you've got that much horizontal movement. But that thing's pretty nasty. So he's got some good movement on these pitches. Like, there's nothing really overpowering here with him, but to me, he looks like a nice back end starter. Maybe he's not like a number, 1, 2, or 3 guy, but I feel like based on what we're seeing here, he looks like a solid number 4 starter, which, sometimes that's great. If you can get a guy to come in and eat innings as a number 4 and he doesn't throw high velocity, so maybe he doesn't blow his arm out, like that's pretty solid. So I kind of like what we're seeing here in the video from Pecco. Let's get now to number 7. The rest of the way, we've got all hitters. So number 7 is going to be Bryce Matthews, who's been around for a hot minute here, made his major league debut. I'm not the highest guy on Bryce Matthews. Again, I just don't really trust the hit tool. Where are you at on Bryce Matthews as an Astros fan, Jake? Like, do you think this guy is a piece? Is he like a cornerstone type guy in your mind, or is he just like kind of like a guy to come in and be like a contributor?
He's as of right now more of a contributor. The name I could not remember was Shea Whitcomb, and he reminds me somewhat of a Shea Whitcomb who dominates in AAA but comes up and struggles a little bit. So similar to him, he's a versatile guy, can play all over the infield. They list him as a second baseman, but he could play a little bit of third. I bet they could put him at short and he'll be fine too. They list him as short on what you're seeing. So he plays all over the infield. I would love if they could maybe move him to an outfield spot, to maybe give him the Cam Smith route and give him some more playing time out there, because I think that's where the Astros are kind of lacking. I think he would actually get more of a starting opportunity if they somehow transitioned him like they did with Cam Smith. But he's a guy, he has some power, some speed. He last year in AAA stole 41 bags, 17 bombs. I think he's going to grade out more of a 30s for the steals, and his power I think is probably the 10 to 12 range. I don't think he has as much power strikeout rate, it's high. Like a lot of these Astros guys, he said the 31% just AAA. So if he can bring that down, I think he's a little bit better. I'm not huge on Bryce Matthews. Would love to see the guy succeed. Made some really cool plays when going to see him in a lot of the Sure Land Space Cowboys games. He's a good defender at the second base. I like him as a defender, just watching him play. So if he can transition, I think that would be really good for the Astros long term.
Yeah, I think you just have a volatile profile here. You might get like some Matt McClain type stuff here.
Sure.
I would say it would be like a nice, like long-term profile from Bryce Matthews because he does hit the ball hard. A 105.9 90th EV is really good. 112.8 max, 11.8% barrel, and a 34.6 sweet spot. So he has good angles on the ball. You can see a 15-degree average launch angle. So he has good angles on the ball. He's not hitting too many balls on the ground. He's getting a nice line drive rate on it. And his issue is just contact. Like a 66% contact and a 75 zone is terrible.
Yep.
So his that's why he's got a 95 hit. So I've got the F scores pulled up: a 112 power, 95 hit, 98 discipline, because he does walk, but he also strikes out. And then a 124 speed. You mentioned the speed. So 79% stolen base success rate is pretty solid. I think it's a guy who will probably keep running. So you might kind of get some Matt McClain. You might get like a 15-25 guy with with crazy batting averages where one season he might hit 260 and then the next he might hit 220. Just because the hit tool has so much volatility because he is an angles guy. So he will have like high BABIP seasons where he's going to be really good. And then if he's running like average to low BABIP seasons, he's probably going to have a bad batting average. So I think that's Bryce Matthews moving forward. I do think he's a starter and I think there is some fantasy value here, but like, that's not like a guy that you want to like bank on, right? Like he's not going to be an all-star superstar type guy. He's going to be like kind of like a solid back end guy that you can plug in and we'll be hot, we'll be cold and kind of move through the hot cold thing. Number 6 here is outfielder Ethan Frey. So Ethan Frey was the top pick for the Astros. I guess he was their second rounder. A lot of people really love Ethan Frey. You actually are seeing in the prospect industry, he's a third rounder. You're seeing a lot more love on Ethan Frey than you're seeing even on Xavier Nayans, which is kind of interesting. And a lot of that is because he had like a really killer debut. So Ethan Frey, I pulled him up. You can see we've got F scores on him already in A-ball. He had an A-ball, 9 steals and 3 home runs in 26 games. So that's going to get people excited. 6'6", 225-pound guy. So huge frame out of LSU, almost got $1 million. But this is something to know. He is not a good runner, despite the 9 steals. He was just super aggressive on the base pass, 31% attempt rate, 64% stolen base success rate. So that's pretty bad. He got 5 caught stealings with 9 steals. And in college, he was not a runner. So you will have power here, but in college, he was not a runner. So a lot of people are going to see these steals. They're going to pick him really high. Like you're seeing tons of hype in FYPD. I do have him at 32. So like I do kind of like him. But this is like your classic, this is your classic Astros guy. Like you're going to have power. You're going to have aggression on the base pass. I don't really know about the hit tool. You see here though, an 83% contact rate, but that's at low A. I don't really necessarily think that's going to translate. Because his success in college was all based on a really high BABIP junior season, 382 BABIP his junior season where he hit 331. His sophomore season, he had a 302 BABIP and only hit 228. So, I mean, like, yeah, that was only 57 plate appearances, so small sample size. But, like, a lot of his success in the past has been BABIP dependent. And this little small sample size we have here from A-ball is a 405 BABIP. So, while I think there is some nice things to be excited about with Frey here, especially like the size and the power, I wouldn't really be buying him for speed like some people might. So what do you think about Frey here as an Astros fan?
Would you give him like a Spencer Jones cop? Just similar with the size and the power, but the play discipline's kind of bad. I mean, that's what you're describing him kind of reminds me of, is like a Spencer Jones type.
Yeah, that's where I would actually be on a lot of these Astros guys. They're all like Spencer Jones wannabes, kind of.
Yeah. And that's what he reminds me of too. Just a big frame, 225. Yeah, I mean, he's just a masher. And as he's going to move up through the levels, I think that's going to be really telling to see how he handles that and where his strikeout rate goes from there and his plate discipline goes from moving up in the system.
Yeah, interesting guy to watch though, especially for first year player drafts. Number 5 is outfielder Kevin Alvarez. This guy's actually like
Yes.
really, really super interesting. He's a
Yes.
DSL guy, and I have him at number 5. Like I don't have many DSL guys ranked this high in orgs, which says something about the Astros org, but it also says something about how much I like Kevin Alvarez. In the DSL this last year, he had 301, 419, 455 as a 17-year-old with 2 home runs and 11 steals. And most impressively, he walked more than he struck out, 12% walk rate, 9.9% K, and an 8.2 swinging strike rate, which DSL, most of the guys are running like 20% swinging strike rates. Like those guys swing at friggin' everything.
Yeah.
This guy has good command of the zone and had a 83% contact rate. Like this, like when you look at the rest of the DSL guys, like this guy is like a 70 grade hit tool compared to the rest of the DSL guys.
Yeah.
And then if he's going to steal some bags and have a little power to boot, like this is a super interesting guy. I think that this guy could like when I look at this hit tool, this plate skills, like this could be 50 or 60 grades that you might tag on this. And then there's power in here. He's 6'4", 184 pounds. Like he's going to grow into a frame that's going to have power. So I don't know about, like the 11 steals, how much that's going to stick around because everybody steals bags in the DSL. But
Right.
I look at this dude and I'm like, okay, you got hit, you got power. Like this is like something really interesting. Could he follow like the Jordan footsteps? Is as an Astros fan what you want to believe,
Just
right?
just because he has the same last name, right? No, there's a lot of people that I think kind of comp him to Kyle Tucker. He has some of the speed. Kyle Tucker's not a fast guy, but gets a lot of stolen bases. Even if Alvarez loses a step here, I think he could still maybe steal some of that bags with his IQ. But I love the frame. He's only 17 years old, so I mean we're not seeing this guy for like 5 years, probably. But I'm going to be excited to have maybe 2 Alvarez's on the team that are both big lefty outfielders that can match, that can take walks. I think that's super important. I can see him as a top 5 in the batting order type of guy with some good plate discipline. So I'm excited for Kevin Alvarez. Like I said, we won't see him for like another 4 or 5 years, but he's someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah, he could be. I mean, like we saw a lot of these DSL guys really break out this year with like Florentino and Raniel Rodriguez. And like, I think Kevin Alvarez is the guy to keep an eye on that he could be like maybe that guy for next year.
Agreed.
So next here, number 4, Walker Yannick, is the way I've heard it said. I guess we'll find out when you get to see him live how the announcer says his name, right? So like I've heard Janik and Yannick. And I want to say I think it's Yannick just because like I don't know, like I just feel like that'd be the way to say it for whatever reason. So I'm gonna go to his F scores here. Another classic Astros guy. 106 power, 100 hit, 90 discipline because he strikes out all the time, 121 speed, which is fun for a catcher. The Astros, who like, besides, like you don't have a backup catcher anymore, right? So, like, do you think Yannick, as a 23-year-old at high A, could he move up in like a cup of coffee next year, or is he 2027 for sure? I feel like he could be like the backup catcher pretty soon. And you might get like I don't know, like you could get some steals here from a catcher, which is very interesting. He had 30 steals and a 94% stolen base success rate last year. So I don't know. It's just interesting. If you could get like 10, 15 from like a backup catcher, that could be pretty useful as like a C2 in fantasy leagues.
Yeah, I know the Astros really like Cesar Salazar. That's kind of their backup catcher now that Carantini's gone. Unless they go out and get a guy in the offseason. I think they're okay with Cesar Salazar being their backup as of now. Janik does rank as their highest in the system to get called up, at least from a prospect standpoint. I don't think I would see him in 2026. I think he's more of a 2027 type of guy, unless he just shows something out this year and moves up quick through the ranks, which we've seen. He'll probably start with the Double-A team this year, and then slowly make his way up. And we'll probably see him in the season with the Triple-A team, is how I would see it. But the stolen bases is a super interesting thing for me to see. It kind of reminds me of like an early JT Realmuto type. Just some steals with a little bit of power, but a little bit more stolen bases than a Realmuto. So it'd be cool to see. He's also a good defensive catcher too, so I think that already has something in his corner as far as maybe moving him up quicker, because it usually takes some time to work on defensive skills for catchers, and he already kind of grades out as a pretty good defensive guy.
Yeah, he went to the Arizona Fall League this year too. And generally, when teams send someone to the Fall League, it means that there could be a chance that they hit the majors within like a year or so, roughly, because most guys don't back to back the Fall League. And so, like, the fact that he was a Fall League guy this year and is not like slated for the following year means maybe they could think about calling up sometime at the end of the year here. So, just something to think about here. Number 3 is Jacob Melton. I actually really like Melton a lot. The big problem with Melton is that he's always hurt. Like, this guy is like basically the Chase DeLauder of the Astros system. He's 25 now and has not been able to stay on the field. For example, this year he only had between majors and minors 196 plate appearances. In 2024, he only had 399 plate appearances. In 2023, 396. 2022, 88, which is the year he was drafted. So it kind of makes sense. But like, he has not been able to stay on the field and be a healthy player. But you can see the F scores really love him. Like, these are insane F scores. 117 power, 99 hit tool, 100 discipline, 131 speed, a 109 grade. He actually does have good contact, unlike other Astros hitters, an 80.5% contact rate, 89% zone contact. So he actually does have a solid hit tool. 18.1% barrel rate, 107.7 90th, and a 113 max EV. So there's power, there's hit, there's steals, 80% stolen base success rate in 2025, 2024, 88%. And he had 30 steals in 2024, even though, like I said, he only had 399 at bats.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, this guy has all the tools here. The biggest problem is staying on the field, and he's just getting older. And it's like, and like I said, the Fangraphs roster resource doesn't even have him as a starter. So it's like, is he going to get a chance? Like, this is like the biggest question.
I think he opens the season in the Astros outfielder. I mean, you look at it right now, you look at like Fangraphs, it has Jesus Sanchez out there for right field. I think Melton's going to be one of the outfield spots. I think they're going to put Jordan as a left fielder. Jordan's going to be the DH. If they have Jordan in left field, throw away the season, because Jordan's going to get hurt and not play another season with the Astros. I think Melton's going to be one of the outfielders that starts the season with the Astros, and they're going to play him until he gets injured. I like the speed. I think it adds a little bit more. He'll hit like 7, 8, 9. He's going to hit later in the order. I don't see him as a top of the order type of guy. I do like the contact, and that could move him up maybe throughout the season, and just being maybe an on-base stolen source. And they're probably going to use him as like the second leadoff in the 9 spot. Is how I see it to start the season. If he does good, they'll work his way up. But I like Jacob Melton. I think he's good, and like you said, it's the durability factor for him, and it seems to be like lower body, and so that kind of scares me with some of the stolen bases. But overall, like the guy. I think we'll see him.
Yeah, for sure. Number 2 is the Astros' first round pick, Xavier Nayans. He was drafted out of high school, 6'4", big boy, over 200 pounds. And he is infamous for his power, or famous or infamous, whatever you want to call it. The dude is a pitcher in high school, and he throws 95. So he's got a rocket arm, and he's a third baseman. So he's probably going to stick at third base because of said rocket arm. You want guys who can throw hard over there on the hot corner. And while there are questions about the hit tool, this is like classic Astros, right? He's going to strike out a lot. The hit tool might have holes in it, but a ton of power here. The good thing is he's a righty, and he has notched 110 mile per hour exit velocities out of high school. So this could be a fun thing. Like, this could be like, okay, like this could be a big time 30 homer dude as a third baseman. So like, we didn't get to see him yet. He didn't play in pro ball yet. So we don't have any statistical data on him, but seems like a fun guy in a very weak fantasy position. So I'm willing to bump him up because you've got power, you've got the right stadium for a righty, you've got a big dude who's actually got an arm and is going to stick at third. Whereas a lot of these guys that are third base will move off to left field or first base because maybe their arm isn't good enough when they hit the pros. So I'm a fan. What do you think?
Yeah, excited. I see a lot of confidence of being a lefty Austin Riley when he comes up, just with that power and the frame, and him being a third baseman. So it'll be exciting to see. I always love when organizations draft former two-way players. I think there's just that extra level of athleticism for two-way players, just because they have to condition so much for both. It shows the arm strength. And not that everyone's going to be a Shohei Ohtani, but it just kind of reminds me of there's just a lot more work that these guys put in that just speaks to their athleticism and that they can grow because they know both ways of the ball. So excited to see what he does, how he grows, and we'll hopefully get some more data on him as he plays this year.
Yeah, number one in the system, getting to number one now, is Joseph Sullivan. I actually really, really love this player. This is one of the most underrated prospects in baseball, in fantasy baseball to me. And you mentioned Spencer Jones earlier. This guy is a good Spencer Jones comp, but he's small. He's like a mini Spencer Jones with better plate skills. And I actually have him ranked ahead of Spencer Jones in my top prospects. So I like him better than Spencer Jones. And F scores absolutely love this guy. So Joseph Sullivan in Double-A this last year as a 23-year-old notched a 116 power in F scores, a 96 hit tool, 119 discipline, 120 speed, a 111 total grade. And while the adjusted WRC plus only gives him a 115 because he is kind of like right there on age to level, this guy had a over 400 OBP, and he had 17 home runs and 42 steals this season. Yeah. And so he gets on base, he steals bags, he jacks bombs, and something to look out for is, like, I think that this guy is going to be a high BABIP guy. Like, I think he's going to run high BABIP. And worst case scenario, he's going to be an excellent platoon guy because you can see as a lefty, he completely mashed righties. 13 bombs, 855 OPS against righties, almost 20% walk rate. You got almost like a fast outfield Max Muncy type profile here, like a second reference to Max Muncy today. But that's what I think you've got in him because he's going to walk a ton. And guess what? If you have a guy who can steal bags, you want them to get on base. So I think he is going to actually steal a lot of bags when he gets up because he had an 82% success rate this season on the base pass, and he was running 32% of the time that he was on first base. So 1 out of 3 times he's on first, he's running. That makes Joseph Sullivan a fun future fantasy guy here. What do you think about Sullivan?
He's fun. I think one thing too to kind of look at when talking about a lot of these Astros prospects that we think maybe could get the shot in 26 or 27 is the Astros don't have any lefties in their lineup. I mean, there's Yordan Alvarez. That's about it. And then you maybe have your Jesus Sanchez, or if Jacob Melgen's the call. I mean, we're already talking about these guys, Jacob Melton, Zach Holt, who's already penciled in to start. I think guys being a lefty hitter gives them more of a shot to maybe get the call to the Astros organization sooner, just because that's what they're lacking. Only having one really stable lefty in a lineup is a terrible thing to have. Hate that for the Astros organization, but you love the power, you love the speed, especially if you play in a league that counts steals like this. 42 is an insane amount to have over, all levels that he did last year. So I'm excited about Sullivan. Hadn't done as much research as Sullivan, even though he's the number one guy, but excited to see him be a little bit more stable than a swing and miss type that we've seen with some of these others.
Yeah, he also missed some time last year. So all those stats are all alpha of 372 at-bats. So, like, if he had a full season, you might be looking at, like, a 25-50 guy. Like, we might be hearing Joseph Sullivan in the same sentences that we're hearing Joshua Baez in right now as, like, a 20-50 guy. So all it took would have taken was some more playing time, I think, for him. Points leagues especially, I would be all over this guy, or any OBP league. If you're in like an OBP steals home run league, like this guy is like perfect for that kind of format. Batting average leagues, he's going to probably hurt you there. But every Astros prospect is. And I just think that Sullivan has the best out of all these tooled out power speed guys. I just think that he has the best power speed combo, especially because he also walks a ton. So this is almost like, I guess another comp would be like an Emmanuel Rodriguez. I feel like this is that's like the profile, because he also has like a pretty low swing rate. So like he's basically like your Emmanuel Rodriguez of the Astros. So pretty interesting player in Joseph Sullivan. So that is the pod, Jake. Do you have anything you want to pump before we get out of here?
No, me and Shane need to start the cutoff. It's been a while, so if you do go, you will see it's very outdated. So that's something we're going to try to get into getting into the 2026 season. So hopefully hop back on with you, Tim, in some future episodes and, get back into the whole podcasting thing. I appreciate you having me on. Hopefully the Astros can make the playoff this season with some of these guys. So excited to hopefully see some of these names that we talked about today with the club this year.
Yep. Give Jake a follow on X at JakeBaseball17, and then follow me on X at Fantasy Aceball, and make sure you subscribe to the MLB Data Warehouse, where you can play with all these fun tools, get all the F scores, and all my dynasty stuff is going to be on there soon. I'm working on my top 150 right now. So that's my last thing that I'm working on. I've got all my redraft rankings done. My dynasty rankings are all done. Just doing my write-ups on my next, for my preseason, I guess, postseason, preseason, whatever, top 150, preseason, postseason, same thing, right? So I'll give my 2026 preseason top 150. I'm just in the middle of doing my write-ups right now to go along with the rankings. And once that's done, I'll let everybody know. And that stuff will all be found on MLB Data Warehouse. So make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Peace out, y'all.